Imagine the year is 1700. The sun rises over the Ganges, pink and gold. 5 great cities in India are each bigger than London: Dhaka, Delhi, Agra, Lahore, Murshidabad. In the bazaars, you can buy diamonds the size of almonds, pepper worth more than gold. It's cloth so fine that 30 meters can be folded into a matchbox. At that time, India produces 27 out of every 100 things made on the entire planet. 1/4 of the world's wealth is ours. Europe is still recovering from plague and war. Britain is a cold, rainy island that makes wool and little else. Sonapur village in Raghu, the weaver. Come with me to a small village on the banks of the Hooghly. We will call it Sonapur, the village of gold. In Sonapur lives Raghu Chacha, 70 years old, back bent like a bow, fingers still quick as dragonflies. Every morning he sits at his wooden loom. The cloth he weaves is called aberwan, running water. When the Queen of France puts it on, courtiers say she is wearing woven air. Raghu's family has been weaving for 400 years. With 1 year's earnings, he can buy the entire village. He is richer than most English lords. Robert Clive arrives one monsoon evening in 1751, hoofbeats, redcoats. A pale young man with hungry eyes dismounts. Robert Clive, 26 years old. He walks straight to Raghu's courtyard and says in broken Hindustani, "Old man, from today, your cloth belongs to the Honorable East India Company. You will weave only for us. Payment later." Raghu laughs. Later? With what? Clive waves a piece of paper at the dastak. It means British traders pay no tax, while Indian traders pay 40%. Within 3 years, every market in Bengal is flooded with tax-free British goods. Sonapur's own merchants go bankrupt. Raghu's savings disappear like morning mist. Plassey 1757, the Great Betrayal 1757, the Battle of Plassey. On one side, Siraj Dola, the young Nawab, with 50,000 soldiers. On the other, Clive with barely 3,000 men. But Clive has already sent secret chests of gold to the Nawab's uncle, Mir Jafar. The battle lasts a few hours. Siraj is murdered. Mir Jafar is placed on the throne like a puppet. Clive's reward? The Diwani writes, the legal right to collect allel taxes from Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, the richest land on earth. In one afternoon, a private company becomes richer than most kings. From that day begins the silent river called the Drain of Wealth. The first great famine and the birth of the drain every year. Taxes are collected in silver rupees from starving peasants. The rupees are used to buy Indian goods: rice, cotton, silk, indigo, saltpeter, opium. The goods are loaded on British ships. The ships sail to London, Canton, Jamaica. The gold and silver earned never come back to India. It stays in Britain to build factories, ships, railways, palaces. The company orders farmers to grow indigo and opium instead of rice. The rains fail. The Bengal famine. 10 million people die, 1 person in every 3 in Bengal. Mothers sell children for a kilo of rice, dogs feed on corpses, yet in that same year, the East India Company exports record quantities of rice to London. Because profit is sacred, Raghu Chacha is dead. His grandson Gopal, now 30, has buried his wife and 4 children in 1 month. He keeps only the broken loom. Industrialization, the destruction of India's hands, 1813. British Parliament shouts free trade. Gopal thinks, now we will live. Instead, Manchester's steam mills roar day and night. A cheap British cloth floods India. Britain slaps 70 to 100% import duty on Indian textiles entering England. But Indian markets are forced to accept British cloth at 2% duty. Within 20 years, India's ancient textile industry, the finest the world had ever seen, is destroyed. 5 million weavers lose their jobs. Gopal takes an axe and chops off 2 of his own fingers, so he will never again be forced to weave for the British. The scientific loot. After 1857, the Great Revolt. Mangal Pandey, Gopal's son, fires the first shot. The revolt is drowned in blood. After victory, the British Crown takes direct control. Now the robbery becomes systematic, legal, respectable. Indian taxes guarantee 5% profit to British railway companies, even if the railway loses money. Indian taxes pay salaries of British officials £20 million a year sent home as pensions. Indian peasants are forced to grow opium. The opium is smuggled into China. The silver flows to London. Every year between 1870 and 1900, an average of £40 million leaves India and never returns. That is more money than the British government collects from its own people at home. The 20th century famines, as policy 1900 to 1943, for great man-made famines. But the worst is 1943, World War II. 3 to 4 million Bengalis starved to death. Winston Churchill diverts food ships to British troops and to stockpiles in Greece and Italy for after the war. When asked to release Indian grain stocks, he writes in the margin, "Why hasn't Gandhi died yet?" At that exact moment, Indian godowns are bursting with wheat and rice, locked for British military use only. 1947, the final balance sheet, the 15th of August, 1947. The British leave. They leave behind literacy, 16% average life expectancy, 27 years share of world GDP, less than 4% down from 27%, an industrial base smaller than Belgium's empty treasury, and the memory of 20 million dead from man-made famines. The great-great-grandson of Raghu Chacha stands in the ruins of Sonapur. The old loom is still there, eaten by termites but standing. He runs his fingers over the wood and finds the name Raghu carved in Bengali script. He asks the old men under the banyan tree, "How much did they really take?" One says, $45 trillion in today's money, Utsa Patnaik's calculation. Another says, 10 to 20 trillion, the lost centuries of growth. A third whispers, even the lowest estimate is 1 or 2 trillion, is still the greatest theft in human history. But the oldest man, eyes wet, says, "My child, forget the numbers for a moment. They took 300 years we can never get back. They took the ships we could have sailed, the machines we could have built, the schools we could have opened. They took our confidence. They left us naked in front of the world. Yet look, the loom is still here. Holes for the warp and the weft are still here. The soul of the craft is still alive. One day we will string new threads, golden threads, silver threads, threads of our own making. This time, we will weave for ourselves, for our children, for the world again. Because the story of India is not a story of defeat. It is a story of return. The sun rises again.